6th of October, Rabbi Levitt, Pele Yoetz.
Well,
Okay, we're recording.
we are recording. Okay, so what? So I wanted to. So yesterday we did the Tosis, and we looked at the Shulchan Aruch, and the Shulchan Aruch said that my machronim chova, and what we need to do is try to understand how these two sugyas, one in Chulin and one in Brachos, how did they work together? And that is going to be the subject of the Rush.
Right.
People want to. You want to look. If you want to look in the Rush is in the back of. Oh, it's not in the. It's not in an art scroll. You have to have a regular. You have to have a traditional Gemara.
For what?
That's the only thing.
Or for brachas?
It's the Rush. It actually is in Brachos. The one that I saw is in Brachos. I actually didn't see the one in Chulin.
All right, I'll get. I have a regular one. I'll get it, but you'll have to help me find it.
Okay, good. That'll be worthwhile.
Morning, Roy.
Good morning, Alan.
And you'll know how to, where to get it. You'll know how to go when you need to get a Rush. I was just reading the other day. There was in the Sukkot, the mega Sukkot issue of the Mishpacha magazine.
Oh, yes.
While Lou's getting his Gemara over here, I have to get my Gemara too, I guess. There was a very nice article about Rav Leib Malin Zatzal, one of the leader of the Lions of the Mir Yeshiva that decided to escape Eastern Europe, and they ended up in China for 5 years, and the whole yeshiva was intact. So everyone who remained with the yeshiva was and he had a big hand in guiding the yeshiva. Anyway, so he came to America after the war, and he opened up a yeshiva, Beis Talmud in New York, and this just reminded me what Lou said. He's gonna have to find out how to find the Rush. So in New York it's not like over here. Here you have your choice. If you want to send your boy to a yeshiva that they teach secular studies, you're welcome to do so. But if you don't, there are places that they don't have it also. So anyway, so he in New York you had to have it. It was the law. So anyway, he had his teachers teaching the subject. It was in a totally different building. It was not in the base medrash of the yeshiva. And one of the instructors, maybe the principal, he told him, "Oh, we're going to take a field trip today, and we're going to go to Coney Island, and it's good because it's during the winter, and there's not going to be any bathing suits that the boys won't be able to see, and all this type of thing." He's trying to sell him on the idea. The Rosh Hashiva, Rav Malin. Rav Malin said, I don't like the idea. So they asked him, what's the problem? What's the problem? He says, you don't need to teach them how to get to Colin Island. But we do need to teach Lou how to get to the rush.
Okay, I found the riff.
That is a big mitzvah.
I found the riff and I found Rabbeinu Yonah. Am I close?
Oh, okay. So that's the Rif and the Rabbeinu Yonah are generally next to the last things that you'll find in the volume. So
Right.
the Rush is the first codifier that you'll find in the back. Oh, I just make sure you have a Gemara Brachos. I just took out by mistake a Gemara in Shabbos. We have to have the Gemara in Brachos. Where is the Gemara in Brachos? Well, maybe I have it in the office here. Oh, yes, here we are. Okay. Okay, so fine. So let's go.
I have something called Ha-Oker.
Oh, did you find the Rush?
No,
It's Rabbeinu Asher.
Rabbeinu Asher. That helps.
Rabbeinu Asher. Let me. Okay, well let's see. One second.
I see a Reish quote.
How
Shin.
old?
Is that the Rosh?
It should say Rabbeinu Asher,
Okay, I don't see that. Let's see, Rabbeinu.
just like it says the Rif and the Ran. It should say Rabbeinu Asher. Let's see. In my Gemara, I have a. This is a rather old Gemara. Got when I was a bacher. That was a long time ago. In other words, now at the end of the Masechta, you got the last page of the Masechta, and it says, and it has the Hadran. It's Samech Daled. Brachas Samech Daled. That's the last daf in Maseches Brachas.
Okay, I'm there. Oh, it says Rosh. I wrote Rosh in pencil.
Okay.
Looks
now,
like somebody did this with me before.
Okay.
Sefer Rabbeinu
There we
Asher
go.
Zal. I got it. Wow.
Okay. Very good. Now, what we want is, now I wonder if you have the same pagination as me. That might make it very easy. If you just turn
I have
to
the
the
standard,
page Lamed Vav.
Lamed Vav, page Lamed Vav?
Yeah, page Lamed Vav in the Rabbeinu Asher.
Okay, so let's see.
That's where you'll find, if you have the Gemara that has the old Rush in it, that's where you'll find it.
All right, well, I've got Lamed Vav. It's Rabbeinu Asher. Elu Devarim, Perek Shemini, Brachos.
Okay, so it's really what we're going to be learning is it's the last section in Perek Shmini, right before Perek Tishi.
Hey, I think I'm there. Yeah, the next page says Shi'i. So it looks like I have the same information as you do.
Okay, great. So now, if you take a look in the Now the commentary of the Rush is the upper quarter of the page, and then you have two commentaries on the Rush on the bottom part of the page underneath the Rush. And so if you look in the Rush, it's on the right column, and it's right in the middle of the page. There's a vav. That's os vav. That's the sixth section that the Rush wrote on this parak, which is the last section of the eighth parak.
I see it.
Okay, so now that's where we're going to be reading from right now.
Amar Rav Yehuda.
That's it. Amar Rav Yehuda.
Wow.
Want to read?
Yeah. Rav Yehuda said, Amar Rav V'omrei le. He said in the name of Rav, V'omrei le be mish nisa kana the his kad shesam elu mayim rishonim.
Right.
Okay, so they said to him, the Masnisa is in the Mishnah.
Yeah, Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. The Amrei Law means that some say that it was even a brisa. It was not it was not the statement of Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav, but it was contained in a brisa. So that's a big difference between Rabbi Yehuda and a brisa. Rabbi Yehuda is an Amora, and the brisa is a statement of Tanoim.
Right.
So yeah.
The his kadish Tom, I don't know.
Okay, so this is the statement. The Rosh is bringing the statement of the Gemara over here, darshaning this pasuk in Vayikra, Vis kadishtem. That's the word of the pasuk, and the drasha is, you should make yourself holy. It means Elo Maim Rishonim. That refers to the mitzvah of Maim Rishonim. The mitzvah, in other words, of Maim Rishonim has a source in this pasuk. Oh,
here comes Meir.
Meir's coming in. Yay! Welcome, Meir. I don't think I welcomed everybody today. Welcome to everybody. Chodesh Tov.
Chodesh Tov.
Bezrat Hashem. Okay, so
Get out of that dungeon, Meir.
I won't even tell you what happened. Okay.
oh boy, you're having a rough day at the post office.
Yes, I waited an hour for a package and I opened it up. It was supposed to be credit cards from the United States. So I opened it up and there was a deck of cards. So when I got home, my wife said, well, let's open up the deck of cards. And guess what? The credit cards were hidden in the deck of cards.
That was clever.
Oh, so you did get what you wanted.
Yeah.
That was the
Oh, Baruch Hashem.
Okay.
That was a very ingenious idea.
Yes, she didn't
Whoever
tell me.
did that. Wow.
she is very smart. She would not email to me that she did that, and I haven't had a chance to speak to her lately. So very good. Everything's fine now.
Baruch Hashem. Okay.
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 So we're in the Pele
Very
Yoetz
good.
again?
Not
Let's
yet.
see. Oh, not yet. Okay.
We're still in
Oh,
the subject
Gemara?
of my Machronim, and actually, right now we're doing the Rush.
Oh, I don't.
Rush
have-
is gonna talk to us about these two sugis that we learned over here about my Machronim.
Okay.
Bez Hashem. Okay, so Amr Bihuda Marav, Amr Lo B'Masnisa. The darshan, the pasuk, V'Iskadishtem, you should make yourselves holy. Eva Ma'im Rishonim. This alludes to a mitzvah to wash hands before a suda. V'Yisem Kedoshim, and you shall be kodesh. Elu Ma'im Achronim. That refers to the mitzvah to wash the hands after the suda, before Birkas Hamazon. Ki kodesh, those two words, Zeh Shemen HaTov, that is coming to tell me that there also is a mitzvah to clean the hands with Shemen HaTov, Shemen that has a very nice fragrance, and this assists between the water and the shemen to remove all of the things that have stuck on the hands after the suda. Ani Hashem mikadishchem. I am Hashem who sanctifies you. Zu bracha. That is the bracha, and that bracha that we're talking about is the bracha of Birkas Hamazon. So what we see over here is that Chazal saw an allusion to the whole seder of the mitzvahs that are involved in a suda from this pasuk in Vayikra. I believe it's in Parshas Kedoshim. That would be appropriate. Okay, so this, fine. Now this, if you remember, this was what we saw in the Gemara in Brachos. This pasuk, the Chazal darshaned for the mitzvah of my Machronim is in Maseches Brachos. Okay, so now there's the Rush. Tema. It is a wonder. What's the wonder over here? The Hakam Ashma, the my Machronim mitzvah, Mishum Kedusha. It's mashba from this Gemara in Brachos that the mitzvah of my Machronim is a mitzvah, and what's the idea, the theme of the mitzvah? It's a matter of kedusha, that you have to make yourself kaddish to make the bracha. Before you make the bracha, before you eat, there's a sanctification that you do, and there's a sanctification that you do after you eat, and you make the Birkas Hamazon. Both times require sanctification, but that's what the water is about. That's what it says in the Gemara in Brachos. Now, does anybody have a problem with that? Like we say in New York, we say in Los Angeles, in California, you talk to somebody, you make a demand on him, and you say, hey, what's gonna be with you over here? And he says, Oh, no problem. I'll do this, I'll do that, whatever. And in New York, they'll say, you start up with the guy and he'll say, you got a problem with that?
I have a problem. with it.
Okay. You have a problem. What's the problem?
We said it was the Rabbanan, and this is saying it's derisa.
Oh, okay. Now, okay, so in fact, this is what one of the commentators is going to say over here, that we have to understand something. When you see a drasha based upon a pasuk, even if it's a pasuk in Chumash, doesn't always mean that you're saying that this mitzvah is a mitzvah midaraisa. What's the difference? When you got a pasuk that says, let's say, it's very clear what the pasuk is telling you. The pasuk tells you, lo sirtzach, don't commit murder, right? That's what the words mean in the pasuk. It says lo sirtzach. So that is what we call that's what the pasuk is telling me. We don't have to think too hard to figure out what the pasuk is telling us. And therefore, that's what the Torah is telling you. That's a Torah binding obligation. Don't commit murder. Over here, in this pasuk over here, it's if we would take a look in this pasuk, it's in Vayikra, and you know what? It would be a good idea to take a look in this pasuk, because it's always good to look inside in the pasuk that you are learning. So now, in your Gemara in Brachos, they will have a citation where exactly to find this pasuk, because it was quoted in our Gemara in Brachos Nun Gimel, on the bottom of the page. Gemara says over there, there's a little daled by the word ani, where it says ani Hashem Elokeichem, to bracha, and that sends us over to the Torah or Hashalim, and the fourth pasuk over there, Torah Hashalim, Hiskadishtem, V'hisem Kedoshim, Ki ani Hashem Elokeichem. That is a pasuk in Vayikra, chapter 20, verse 7. Let's take a look over here. And let's see if we read this pasuk, what do we think this pasuk is talking about? What would you say this pasuk is talking about? Okay. I'm looking up the pasuk right now in Vayikra.
And so it says, you shall sanctify yourselves, and you will be holy, for I am Hashem, your God.
Okay. Would anybody say over here that this pasuk is talking about a mitzvah to wash before a meal and to wash after the meal?
What was it? It was 20. What was the verse?
7.
7.
Yeah.
If I saw this pasuk alone, I would think that Hashem is commanding us to do all the commandments to make ourselves holy. I wouldn't necessarily think one
okay.
particular commandment, because it
Right. Very true. It's a very general statement. So in other words, where kedusha is mandated, so you better do that.
right.
That's a mandate to do so. Like the beginning of this whole parsha, right? It's called Parshas Kedoshim. What's the first pasuk? Yomer Hashem el Moshe daber el Aaron. Oh no! 1 second. That's Akri Mos. One second over here. Right? It says daber Hashem el Moshe lemor daber kol adas b'nei Yisrael v'amart alehem kedoshim to you.
It says, you shall be holy, right? Or no, that's Hashem. It looks like shall be holy. Oh no, not necessarily.
Kedoshim to you.
You
You,
should be
right?
holy.
You,
Yeah.
right? It says, but Hashem is saying, Daber el kol. Hashem is saying to Moshe, and then he says, Hashem says to Moshe, Daber el kol adas b'nei Yisrael. Speak to all of the Jewish people, v'amarta alehem, and tell them, kedoshim to you. Be kodesh. Ki kodesh ani, Hashem Elokeichem, because I am kodesh. I who am your God, I'm kodesh. Okay, so that's a very general statement.
Right.
How do you do that? What does that involve? What actions does that involve exactly? What's the pasuk talking about? Okay.
If you look at Rashi, it says keep away from idolatry. On the word v'his kidashtem.
He's got. Rashi says he's kadish tem. On that Rashi in our pasuk on pasuk Zion, zu precious avodas kochavim. Rashi says it's not referring to washing your hands. It's referring to sanctify yourselves and don't and stay away from avodah zarah, which makes a lot of sense, because if you'll take a look at the psukim that precede our pasuk, you'll see that is what the subject of the psukim are.
Right.
Okay. So what is my point over here in pointing all these things out over here? My point is to say as follows. Chazal, they knew the Torah inside and out, and they told us that they see a remez in this pasuk. They see an allusion, a hinting in this pasuk, even though it doesn't say so explicitly, but they see an allusion to that a mitzvah of washing your hands before a Suda and washing your hands after the Suda. And therefore, they go ahead and they make what's called a rabbinic decree. But it says so in the Torah. Isn't it a Torah mandate that what they see over here? So on this we say no. Since the pasuk it's not really clear from the pasuk that is what the pasuk is coming to tell us. It's not like lo sirtzach. It's not like a pasuk is clearly telling me that is what it's coming to tell me. That would be a Torah mandate. That's a Torah mandated mitzvah. Over here, Chazal are finding an allusion to a mitzvah to wash hands, and they are, so to speak, hanging their hats. If you'll ask them, where do you see that there's such a mitzvah like this, rabbis? Where do you get off saying that? They'll tell you, we see it in this pasuk over here. And so therefore, this is the Ratzon Hashem, because the rabbis understood that this is what Hashem wants. But Hashem did not make a deraisa commandment about it. He phrased it in this way, and he left it up to the rabbis to say, yes, this is what Hashem wants us to do. And so that has a status of a rabbinic commandment, so to speak.
All right, so I have another problem.
Yeah.
It says, that my machronim mitzvah mishum kedusha.
Right.
Washing is a mitzvah because of holiness. But we have
Right.
learned that it's because of cleanliness. It has to do with schmutz on the food, and it has to do with salt of Sodom. Things that are on your hands that you got to wash them off. That doesn't have anything to do with holiness.
Oh, now you hit the jackpot. This is what the Rush is going to point out over here to us. Let's take a look at the Rush. You were machavan to the Rush, Lou. Very, very good. Let's see the words of the Rush. Tema. This is a tema, says the Rush. This is a wonder. The Haka here in this Gemara in Brachos, Ashma, the Mai Makronim, mitzvah mishum kedusha. It's a mitzvah of kedusha, according to the Gemara in Brachos. Ubeper kol habasar. However, if we take a look at the Gemara in kol habasar, that's the name of the parak of Meseches Hulin that we saw over there, Kuf Hey Amid Beis, Mashma, two things, two problems over here. Mashma shehein chova. It's mashma that it is a obligation. Number one, it's not merely a mitzvah; it's an obligation. That was the language of the Gemara over there. So that's one contradiction. And number two, mipnei asakana. The reason that it's an obligation is because there's a sakana. Mishum melech sedoimis, shemisames einayim. That's got nothing to do with kedusha. That's a matter of we're being protected from a physical danger by performing this obligation. That's not a matter of kedusha. So we see that the two Gemaras over here are explaining the Mai Machronim in two completely different ways. So asks the Rush, is it a mere mitzvah or is it a binding obligation? Is it because of kedusha or is it to protect oneself from physical danger? Okay, that's the Rush's question. So this opens up the whole issue over here of what is Mai Machronim all about. Okay, now the Rush is going to answer the question that he asked. There's the Rush. V'yesh leimar. And there is to say, meaning the answer to this question is, Mishum Kedusha Amru Shehein Mitzvah, on account of, in other words, this mitzvah of my makronim, this matter of washing the hands, is a double barrel matter over here. There's a matter of kedusha involved in the mitzvah of my makronim, mishum kedusha amru shehein mitzvah, and on that account they said there's a mitzvah to wash the hands. Now, another thing, if we remember, we saw in the Gemara in Chulin and in Brachos, we saw three different categories. We saw a category of with the water over here. We saw a category of chova, and my makronim fell into the category of chova, whereas my rishonim was a mitzvah, and my emsoim was a reshus. So there's three different levels of obligation over here. Not any obligation at all. If you want to, you could. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Mitzvah is there's a mitzvah involved, and chova is you have no choice. You have to do it. So what the Rosh is saying over here, yesh loymar mishum kedusha amru shehein mitzvah, umishum sakonas melech sedoimes hosifu la'asosa choiva. What did they do? What did Chazal do? It sounds like it was a double-tiered mitzvah. First of all, they made it a mitzvah because of kedusha, that there's a mitzvah involved in washing the hands, and then that is in regard to even my makronim, because from the Gemara in Brachos, we don't see any distinction between the level of obligation of my rishonim and my makronim. Both of them are learned out from the same pasuk. They both are alluded to in the pasuk. They're not specifically mentioned in the pasuk. We have no basis for saying there's any difference between their level of obligation. But when we go to the Gemara in Chulin over there, we see that the Gemara over there brought that my rishonim was mitzvah and my makronim was choiva. And over there, that is because they added a second tier to the level of obligation of my makronim because of the sakana involved, because of the physical danger that there's a possibility, even though it's maybe a remote possibility, but it's not a possibility that you want to take any chances with whatsoever, and therefore it's a binding obligation to wash my makronim because of melech sedoimis. So it's in a different category than my rishonim. So that's the answer of the Rosh. And then he goes on and brings another answer. But that, I think, is a very basic, fundamental point over here that comes out from this, because we learned both the Gemara in Brachos as well as the Gemara in Chulin, and so this is a question that the Rosh has from the Gemaras, and he has resolved this question.
So, in other words, the Rosh would say that even if you follow Tosfos and you say there's no Melech Sodom, nevertheless, you still have the reason of Kedusha, and therefore that's why we do it.
Ah. Right. Right. And Tosfos said, Tosfos will say over there that that this mitzvah of kedusha is when your hands are not clean, when you have yadayim mizu hamois. But our yadayim are we don't, and you wouldn't, and accordingly you would not bench without washing your hands previous. This is an important point. Tosfos says though that for people who are very sensitive about this, and they're very particular about their hands and all this type of thing, so and they always therefore wash their hands and clean them before they bench, so then the enochanami, they would be required. He called those people anashim mu'uganim. But we, for our part, our custom is that we don't wash my makronim because in regard to the matter of melech sedomus, there is no melech sedomus anymore. And number two, in regard, if you'll say regard in matter of kedusha, the Gemara in Brachos, that's for yadayim mizuhamos, the hands that are not clean. But we don't feel our hands are unclean, and therefore we don't wash my makronim before we bench. That's what you have to say according to the Tosfos.
So
But you're right. What comes out is that really. Really, I think Roy made this point. Tosfos, if you would ask Tosfos and say, let's say that, I don't know if it's true, but I would imagine some of the Balei Tosfos were Kohanim, and they would you as a Kohen, would you do a vote in the Beis Hamikdash with hands like that? Did you got chicken grease on them? Oh, I don't have so they're pretty clean. They're not so bad. I'm not makpid to wash. Yeah, but would you do a vote in the Beis Hamikdash? So okay. I mean, those that do not wash, they have on whom to rely. They have Tosfos. That Tosfos says this is our custom. This is what we do. But those who do wash my makronim, it's not simply because of melech sedomus. And even though the Gra says that we do still have to be concerned with melech sedomus, but nevertheless, even if we wouldn't be required to be concerned with melech sedomus, most people would not want to bench if they have anything on their hands. Okay, maybe today if you eat only with a knife and a fork, you don't really have anything on your hands. But this is the idea. The washing is for kedusha, and that's what we do for my makronim, because we're like a Kohen doing a vote in the Beis Hamikdash. He does his avoda in the Beis Hamikdash. We do our vote at our shulchan after we have a suda, and that's our avoda. And so we wash our hands. Yeah. Okay. 11:34. We went 4 minutes over. Sorry about that. But so we say goodbye to Mayor.
Okay, have a good day.
are we done with the Rosh?
Mayor already have to wait an hour. So now you have to wait another 4 minutes too. But okay.
That's okay. At least this is learning Torah.
Yeah, right.
See you, Mayor.
Are we
Okay,
finished
be
with the
well.
Rosh?
Good day.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
We'll be back
Bye-bye.
soon.
Rabbi,
Hello? Yeah.
are we finished with the Rosh?
Want to do the whole rush?
I wouldn't mind.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to put a
Okay.
bookmark here.
Yeah, put a bookmark. Yeah. Okay. Very good.
All right.
Okay, we'll
4
be back
minutes.
soon. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.